The draft order is based off of current Super Bowl odds, but welcome to the 2024 mock draft. First one of the actual NFL and college football regular season. I did do a way too early mock draft. We'll see how that ends up aging. It's impossible for those to age well, but it's a fun way to look at some of the top up-and-coming draft prospects, talk about them a little bit, and also talk about some of these teams that might be picking near the top of the draft. I'm a Giants fan, and oh boy, Sunday Night Football was not fun. But the Cardinals are picking at number 1, and I'm going to have them drafting Caleb Williams. Why? Caleb Williams is just simply too good. He's way cheaper than Kyler Murray. And yes, it will hurt the Cardinals to draft a quarterback and trade Kyler Murray financially a little bit. Definitely a large cap penalty associated with moving Kyler Murray. But at the end of the day, you save so much money with a rookie quarterback contract plus the 5th-year option that it's probably going to be worth it to bring in a new quarterback that you want in your organization and recoup draft picks for Murray, who is still valuable. I recognize that there's a world where they don't do this, but if they have the number 1 overall pick, and we're not going to trade out in this mock draft, Caleb Williams is probably the pick, although Drake May is very, very good as well, and I think will end up being a top pick in this draft as well. This could be the most quarterbacks we've ever seen go in a draft. We say that every year, and it gets closer and closer to happening every single year. We see 4, 5 quarterbacks go in round 1, even in what appear to be a weaker quarterback class than we initially thought in 2023. Bryce Young still went number 1 overall. CJ Stroud was the 2nd pick. Anthony Richardson went in the top 4 or 5. I think he's a 4th overall pick. And then, of course, like Will Levis and company slid out. But quarterbacks go high in the draft. It's just what they do. So you might see that in this. And we're going to pair up Caleb Williams with Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, that's how you go out and get it done. You get the top 2 offensive players maybe in the entire draft, but you're picking at 1 and 2, so it definitely does make sense. They wanted to go defense or offensive line. Not that they would go offensive line. They definitely could consider tackle. Olu Fashanu's phenomenal. You could take a developmental guy in Amarius Mims, who also could be one of the top players off the board. But we're going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. Just simply too good to pass on. If you've not seen Marvin Harrison Jr., I completely recommend dropping what you're doing and going to watch him because he is incredibly good. And he's not just his dad. He's bigger than Marvin Harrison was, significantly. So he's able to play more like a 50-50 ball receiver at times, but he also separates like someone much smaller. He's a very good route runner. He's advanced as you'd expect, coming from the son of an NFL Hall of Fame receiver. He is as good as any receiver we've seen in the draft in the past 10 years as a prospect. He's incredible. Colts at 3. We're going to go with Olu Fashanu here, and this is why. You just drafted a quarterback in Anthony Richardson. You want to be able to protect him. Olu Fashanu probably would have been the first tackle off the board last year. I'll say certainly, or almost certainly, off the board last year if he decided to go back to Penn State, earn his degree, and then go into the draft this year. He is very, very good, very athletic, and advanced as a pass protector. He is going to be a top 5 player off the board. Again, almost for sure. Depends on which teams are in there, depending on what needs they want to address. But Olu Fashanu, I would say right now, has a very good shot to still be the first tackle off the board despite going back to school for another year. Bears, back-to-back picks, one via Carolina at the moment. Well, okay. I'm not going to get too crazy, but I do want to at least mention the possibility that if things go poorly for Justin Fields this year, the Bears could consider drafting a quarterback. I know you don't want to hear that. It's a possibility. I don't know that it's a strong one right now, but if you end up with one of the top 3 or 4 picks in the draft, you might just say, hey, the Justin Fields experiment just didn't really work out. He's just not where we need him to be as a passer. Doesn't really, the game's not slowed down enough for him at the moment. And the Bears' offense is also just a disaster. I'm not saying it's all Justin Fields' fault. There are a lot of pieces in here that are not fitting together correctly at the moment. But the Bears could consider a quarterback, right? I don't know that it's going to happen, but it's a possibility. I'm not going to do that here. Just hype that up for no reason. I'm going to go Jared Verse. Probably the best edge in this draft, at least upside-wise. if you want to go to this, well, and even Chop Robinson's in that conversation as well. I love Leatu Latu. Dallas Turner may be the safest one. Really good athlete, good run defender, really good pass rusher, really good player overall. It's a talented edge class. I'm a huge fan of Leatu Latu. As I mentioned, Chop Robinson's very good. I love Braylon Trice. JT Tuimoloau had a really good season at times last year. I mean, Jack Sawyer, people think is going to take a step up. Jordan Birch is a really good athlete. Zion Tupuola-Fatui was really, really good a couple of years ago before getting injured, or was he sitting out the COVID year? Something like that. Corey Foreman, I think, was a former top 2 or 3 recruit, maybe even number 1 in the entire recruiting class. So he's someone that could go a lot higher. This is what seems to be a very talented edge group. Leatu Latu has a medical red flag. He had to retire from football before transferring to UCLA. Kind of like similar story to Jalen Phillips, reverse with UCLA. Leatu Latu transferred to UCLA. Jalen Phillips, after medically retiring, transferred from UCLA to the U. But Latu is a stud. Really, really like him. And, well, you'll see. We'll talk about him when it gets to that spot. Bears at number 5 now, back-to-back picks. So I think you could definitely consider double dipping on defensive line here. Could be double edge rushers, right? Verse and maybe Dallas Turner. We could go interior defensive line. Johnny Newton from Illinois. Leonard Taylor, both very good players. Even if you want to take more of a shot here, he was so unbelievable as a freshman before injury, and then he was suspended, I think, the first game of this season. Mason Smith, really, really good player, too. Have to see what his 2023 has in store. Chris Jenkins, also a good player, too. Son of NFL defensive lineman Chris Jenkins. He is a freak athlete. It's a really fun defensive line class. McKinley Jackson's a good player, too, from A&M. Nas Stackhouse, Michael Hall, Tyler Davis in a specific role would be. He's not really going to be a guy putting up huge sack numbers at the position. But for the Bears, I think I'm just going to go and try to upgrade his strength. This could be even offensive line in consideration as well. I just don't know that they would draft a tackle. I think they like who they have currently. And, of course, just drafting Darnell Wright as well at right tackle. Braxton's pretty good over on that left side. Developing. I think he was, 4th, 5th round pick out of Southern Utah. So still some development to be done. If Cole Kmet's not the guy long-term, could take a shot on Brock Bowers. I'm going to go Kool-Aid McKinstry. Maybe the best corner in this class. I can understand definitely thinking that Kalen King is that guy. Or Nate Wiggins, Josh Newton in that conversation as well. It's a decent-looking corner class also. We'll have to see what happens. Cooper DeJean, nothing to sneeze at either. Titans at number 6. We're going to go with, and it's tempting to go Drake May here. I was initially going to go offensive line, and I don't think Drake May falls this far in the actual draft. I think someone would trade out. Maybe it's the Bears again. They have 2 first-round picks back-to-back. They might choose to do that. Try to get some picks for it. Colts even could as well, if they think quarterbacks are going to go and then Fashanu will still be available, or if they have Amarius Mims close. We'll have to see. I'm going to go Drake May. It's like, oh, we just drafted Will Levis. Oh, we have Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis. Why are we just going to keep drafting quarterbacks? Because Drake May is the best of them all. Like, at least long-term, for sure. For sure. Will Levis has upside. I don't know that you want to just say, just because we spent a second-round pick and we traded up to get him, that he's going to be the starter next season. You don't know that, right? And I saw so many times in the last draft cycle when I had the Panthers taking a quarterback. They would never take a quarterback. They drafted Matt Corral in the 3rd round. That just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's not comparable. I know people thought that Will Levis could have gone inside the top 5 or 10 last year. It didn't end up happening. If Drake May's there at 6, it should definitely be in consideration. For sure. And I'm about to seem a little hypocritical here because I'm not going to give the Commanders a quarterback. It says quarterback's a team need. I think they like Sam Howell. And I think that's the difference. I think the Titans are unsure about Will Levis, Malik Willis for sure, Ryan Tannehill's future up in the air. The Commanders, I think, like Sam Howell. I'm not going to give them a quarterback. And you could even consider an edge here, depending on if you want to keep Chase Young around or not. Been pretty injury-riddled his career, unfortunately, for Washington. I'm going to go Brock Bowers. Tight end is a need for them. Logan Thomas is a good player. Brock Bowers enables you not only to run the football, which they like to do, but gives you a dynamic receiving threat as well. Can play in line. He's the best tight end prospect we've seen all around in quite some time. Is he as good of a receiver as Kyle Pitts? Maybe not on that exact same level, but honestly, pretty close. And is he a better blocker than Kyle Pitts? Without question. So Brock Bowers just kind of fills a need, and I think he's going to be a top 10 pick, even at tight end. So Brock Bowers goes at number 7. Raiders at 8. Could be a corner, but I also think quarterback will very, very much be in play here. And this is a good quarterback class. It's trending that way for sure. Quinn Ewers absolutely showed out and showed up against Alabama. Hook 'em. Very good game. Was a bit of a game manager in that one, but also made some great throws down the field as well. Something he has not really been able to do after getting injured against Alabama in that first quarter a year ago. But Quinn could end up being a top pick if you bank on that arm talent, and it's pretty absurd from Quinn when he's on. However, I'm going to go J.J. McCarthy. I was not completely sold on J.J. McCarthy in 2022. You saw flashes, right? But I've watched a couple games of J.J. McCarthy in 2023, and it's not so much about level of competition. It's about what individually he's able to do that shows how advanced he is as a passer. Not only is it making like opposite hash to sideline throws, it's working through his progressions, getting to the backside of a play, and truly going 1, 2, 3 through your progressions to get to where the ball needs to be. He has been incredibly accurate to start the year, and I think he would be a really good fit with Josh McDaniels, who are the Raiders probably going to look for a young quarterback option behind Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think J.J. McCarthy is going to be very good. I was really, really impressed when I was watching him already. I know it's early into the season, but very, very impressive. I think he's actually legit. And I also think Shedeur Sanders is legit. And I'm not going to get trapped up in Baker Mania here in 2023 after 1 week. I think the Bucs would look for a long-term replacement, an option at QB, and there are some good ones. Like, I think the average draft position and rank of these guys is a little bit too low compared to where they might go. Riley Leonard from Duke could be a first-round pick. Michael Penix, also incredibly impressive, especially he's just accurate, especially down the field. He's able to hit hole shots. He's enough arm strength and talent overall to do that. I like Michael Penix. I know he's a lefty. Not going to say he's going to be a first-round pick for sure, but he's in that conversation. Quinn certainly is. And Shedeur Sanders, this is another situation I'm in. I think Shedeur Sanders is very, very good. Again, only been a couple of games, but he's just been smart with where to go with the football. He's shown arm talent down the field as well. The arm isn't like anything spectacular the way you'd think of with, Quinn Ewers or Caleb Williams. But I think he's going to be a very good player from what we've seen so far. Obviously, there's a long season. We'll see how that develops. But I think this is a very talented quarterback class, and we could see many of them go in the first round. That is 4 in the top 10, unless I do something with the Giants here. Giants have options. This would be a good spot. Giants could go corner, right? Even after taking Deonte Banks, I don't think they will. Could even go edge. Azeez Ojulari has been a bit of a question mark. Could never hurt to get another rotational guy in there at the absolute worst. Could go interior defensive line and maybe Johnny Newton if you're looking for a Leonard Williams replacement long-term, or even just to get another guy in there. Wouldn't be a bad idea. For me, the Giants just struggle so much offensively. It's got to be either an offensive lineman, and I'm not sure it's a tackle. Evan Neal was a top 7 pick. He hasn't been great so far, hasn't really even been good so far. But that's one of those positions that takes a long time to develop. I don't think we're out on Evan Neal just yet. Might have to be at some point, but not right now. Got to get more playmakers. And when you look at the receiver class, it is incredibly talented. And I think based on what the Giants currently have, which is just a bunch of slot receivers pretty much, and Isaiah Hodgins, I get it, not really a slot guy, a bigger body that can play on the outside despite not having outside type speed. I think Keon Coleman is just a freak. 50-50 ball winner at Michigan State. Fine player. At Florida State transfers, he is one of the best receivers in the draft, and I think really pushing to be number 2 behind Marvin Harrison Jr. He is a very, very talented player. Not going to be a surefire top 10 pick, but I think he's a first rounder without question. I think he definitely could go top 15, top 20, maybe even top 10 as we have here. Rams at 11. Matthew Stafford is just still good. I had questions about him because of injury. I think those are warranted. He's just good. He's really good still. If he's healthy, he's going to be good. Can you rely on him long term with health? Not really sure. But he definitely is very, very good. And you maybe don't need to take a quarterback, right? You don't need to. But if he gets injured, you're screwed again. And is he the long-term guy? Tough to say. Tough to say, right? But I don't think we absolutely have to go QB here. Definitely a possibility. But the Rams, to me, their roster is just so bad in general that you just really should take the best player in the draft. And I think based on where they're picking here at 11, Dallas Turner is just a safe, good player with upside as well. He's a really good athlete. And I think he's just a good player. And the Rams don't have enough of those right now. No disrespect, but they just don't have enough. I think the Patriots, I mean, I don't know. They're saying quarterback's a need. I don't know that they replaced Mac Jones already. It's a possibility, I suppose, but I don't think that they do it. It's definitely a possibility. We're going to go offensive line. Joe Alt is here. J.C. Latham, Amarius Mims. Those are kind of the top 3 in my opinion. We're going to go Amarius Mims. We're going to go on the upside. Patriots have taken a Georgia tackle round 1 before, Isaiah Wynn. But their offensive line is just kind of deteriorating a little bit. Riley Reif, pre-injury, was going to be the starter there and is injured. And Amarius Mims could be a starter, maybe not right away, but super athletic, developmental guy a little bit. And these type of guys we just see go high in the draft. Could be a first rounder for sure. Maybe even a top 10 player in the draft. The Steelers are an interesting team. You can kind of sell me on a number of different things here. I think in the end, though, their secondary is just not strong enough. And when you play in a division with Joe Burrow, right? I know his week 1 was bad. I don't care. When you play in a division with Joe Burrow, you got to play him twice a year. Got to be able to defend the pass. And especially if you're going to be contenders in the AFC, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, despite being terrible in week 1, you got to be able to defend the pass. I'm going to go Nate Wiggins from Clemson. He is, again, arguably in that conversation for CB1 right now. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, could use help at the position. Patrick Peterson, I don't believe to be a long-term solution in Pittsburgh. Still can be a good player, but you got to get younger, got to get better. Nate Wiggins, I think, is a decent option. Broncos at 14. Their defense is really, really good. Could still just look to get better. Anyway, more talent in there. Never a bad idea. But I think with how Russell Wilson has played in 2022 with the Broncos, and we'll see what happens in 2023, I don't think you can count on him. And I think you would potentially look to replace him with somebody younger. And maybe somebody that doesn't need to start right away. You can still have Russell Wilson in there. I'm going to go Quinn Ewers from Texas. Hook him, of course. But Quinn's got incredible arm talent, like top 2 or 3 in the draft type of a potential at the quarterback position. He's really, really, really talented. Been waiting for him to put it together. He dominated Alabama. Had a fantastic game. Was getting the football out quickly. And that's a credit to Sark as well, Steve Sarkisian, head coach of Texas. Great game plan. A lot of quick game. And then when they took deep shots, Quinn was accurate. You know, they might have missed down the field with their first attempt, I think, to Xavier Worthy. But he connected on nearly everyone down the field after that. Adonai Mitchell a couple times. Xavier Worthy again. Quinn could be a top 5 pick in the draft. I'm here at 14. Potential is insane. Does he even end up going near this high? It's tough to say. We got to see what 2023 is going to have in store. Things could change. Vikings at 15. Probably not stoked about Quinn going ahead of them if they're looking to replace Kirk Cousins long term. Corner is also a really, really big issue for them. So do I want Penix or Riley Leonard here? Or do I want, a corner? And Bo Nix is ranked this high, and I don't hate it. Bo Nix at Auburn sucked. Again, we're just going to call it what it is. He was not good there. Part of it was Bo Nix. Part of it was a bad situation. Goes to Oregon, lights it up. He's a good player now. We'll have to see what 2023 has in store. Bo Nix could be a first-round guy, which I never would have thought of a few years ago seeing him at Auburn. But Bo Nix at Oregon is a different beast. I'm going to go Bengal King here. Got to upgrade corner. And even bringing in Byron Murphy. Nice get. Got to upgrade corner. Andrew Booth Jr. hasn't really developed as quickly as you would have wanted so far. You'd love for him to be amazing, but Bengal King is the pick at 15. Jets at 16. Man, they're a good team. And it's tough. Zach Wilson has proven at this point not to be the guy. Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. You got to feel for that team. Got to feel for Aaron Rodgers. It sucks whether you like him or not. It sucks for a guy that talented to get injured when there were such high hopes around the Jets. But it might be time to just bring in a new QB. And Michael Penix is good. He's smart, knows where to go with the football, has very good accuracy. And for a competing Jets team, I don't know that you want another project QB. Not to say that that's Riley Leonard, but I don't know that you take Bo Nix or certainly not Jordan Travis or Joe Milton or Spencer Rattler. Michael Penix is good. And I think that's just a nice fit for the Jets, who are trying to win now with a great defense and some playmakers on offense as well. Seahawks at 17. And maybe their starting quarterback is Aaron Rodgers next season, by the way. Penix as a backup and then a starter that you can have confidence in. I think is a good idea for 2025 anyway, just so we're on the same page. Seahawks at 17. I love the way the board has fallen for them. I don't really think you need to go offense with this pick. I like where they are at receiver, obviously. I think their offensive line, they've never really shown a huge interest in really upgrading. They just get it done anyway. They could go quarterback, but Geno Smith is on a 3-year deal. I don't think you have to this year. I think if you're going to be competitive, you want to try and really go in with what you have. And after putting an emphasis on the interior of the defensive line in free agency, we go with Chop Robinson from Penn State. Edge rusher that can come in and potentially start right away. Falcons at 18. The Falcons are an interesting team. You know, I don't love them on offense or defense. I think offensively, they have a number of playmakers you can get excited about. Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and of course Bijan Robinson recently, or now with the first round pick, right, in 2023. Their offensive line is good, not great. Quarterback, I don't think you have to tie yourself to Desmond Ridder. I don't think you have to do that. Do they go QB here? I mean, the Packers needs QB. I hate that. They are so committed to Jordan Love that they just got rid of Aaron Rodgers, essentially. Hall of Fame QB. Won MVP in 2020 and 2021. They don't need a QB. They're not going to draft one this year. I would almost guarantee that. Falcons, though, they could draft a QB. They absolutely could. Will they? I don't know. For me, I'm looking at the other side of the ball or wide receiver. They just don't have much outside of Drake London, to be honest, but they just don't throw either. So, I don't know. It's a tough spot. I just think their defense really needs to get a huge boost. Corner is weak. Linebacker, if you want to take one in round 1, you're going to take a running back at 8. You might as well take a linebacker at 18. Good linebacker class, to be honest. Now, we see these guys go lower and lower and lower in the draft, but Barrett Carter's probably LB1. Smile Mondon. Smile, it's definitely Smile. Is it Mondon or Mondon? I cannot remember, but he is very, very good in the conversation for LB2 in the draft. Jeremiah Trotter right there as well. I mean, all of these guys could end up being LB1. Smile is maybe the most athletic of the 3, to be honest. Should be ranked a lot higher. Falcons could end up going linebacker here. I think corner should very much be in play, and that's going to be where we actually end up going here. Cooper DeJean from Iowa is a very, very good player. Now, he is a white corner. You don't see a whole lot of those, but he's very, very talented. Great ball skills. Could he move to safety? I guess it'd be a possibility, but I think he can stick on the outside. Definitely very good, and you'd assume good enough too based on his tape in 2022. One of the best corners in this draft, without question. I know, weird white corner, but he is good. I can promise you he's good. And I think corner is going to be definitely a position the Falcons look to draft pretty high in the 2024 NFL draft. Packers at 19. This is an interesting spot because receiver is just not a position they ever draft high. But with the receivers that are available, you'd think you might want to consider that. Their defense looks very solid. I like their defensive line. I like what they're doing on the edge. Linebacker's position they've invested in, and it looks decent at least. Quay Walker, of course, first-round pick as well. I guess there's even a chance that this ends up being a safety. Based on the Packers' current depth chart, I think safety could be a way that they go. Here's what I'm going to say, though. And this might be a little bit boring for some of you, but I heard that the Packers were very close to drafting a tackle last year in the first round. And I know you have David Bakhtiari. Zach Tom is maybe somebody you're trying to develop. David Bakhtiari has been known to be injured from time to time. And also, even if he's good in starting, you need something on the other side as well. And I'm not sure that they're going to be so attached to Zach Tom that would stop them from taking a tackle. And there are some really good tackles on the board. Joe Alt, J.C. Latham. Those are first-round potential guys. And we're going to go J.C. Latham here. He's going to be playing left tackle in 2023 for the Tide, but it was a really good right tackle for them last year. And you could just stick him right back at right tackle. So, seems like a pretty easy solution. Saints at 20. Similarly to with the Vikings, we're back in that, would they consider a quarterback here type of conversation? Because you do have Derek Carr, but is it a long-term solution? I'm not sure. I'm going to go receiver. Have Emeka Egbuka. We know the Saints love to draft their Ohio State wide receivers and just Ohio State players in general. Or do you keep Malik Neighbors in the boot? LSU standout receiver is a beast as well. It's one of the two for me here. I think Emeka Egbuka is somebody that is a nice combination with Chris Olave, but maybe not quite as good as Malik Neighbors would be. Because I think you can get, aggressive with how you use Malik Neighbors and creative, and you can get him, even working out of the backfield at times, the way you see the Vikings do with Justin Jefferson. He can take, sweeps and things, and he is someone that can also win down the field alongside Olave. But the counter to that is that, okay, you have Chris Olave as your deep threat on the outside. Maybe Emeka Egbuka can work in the slot and be productive there as well. You could honestly sell me on either of these options. I think they're both very good. And I am going to go Emeka Egbuka just because the Ohio State connection. And I hate to do this because I did it in my way too early mock draft, but I feel like it just still continues to make sense. So Emeka Egbuka, even though I might prefer Malik Neighbors as a prospect, Emeka Egbuka is the guy. And I love Adonai Mitchell, AD Mitchell. Love Xavier Worthy. Rome Odunze is very good as well. I love Juice Wells. Juice Wells is a beast. Don't know that he's a first-round pick, though. Jags at 21. What do you do if you're the Jags? This could just be turning the card for Joe Alt, to be honest. Start him at left tackle over Walker Little. I think that would be in play. But also Anton Harrison could be your future starting left tackle. There are a number of ways the Jags could go. I'm going to try and boost their defensive line. You got Johnny Newton from Illinois. Leonard Taylor from the U. Gonna go Johnny Newton. Jerzon Johnny Newton from Illinois. Really, really good player. Offers pass rush on that interior. And I think the value there is just a little bit too good to turn down. And the Chargers keeping Laiatu Latu local. That wouldn't be a bad idea either. I think they certainly would look to avoid receiver after spending a first-round pick on Quentin Johnston. That offense is really coming together. The defense could stand to improve. And usually when you have that, you look toward pass rush. Love Khalil Mack. He's not the player he used to be. Are you developing Tuli Pelotu into being a starter? Definitely possible. You're not forced into edge here. We're going to go on the interior. We're going to go Leonard Taylor from Miami. Another great athlete. Unfortunately, just a lot of athlete right now, which is not really a bad thing for an interior defensive lineman. We've seen guys win with just being a great athlete. Even at the NFL level, Ed Oliver is a good example of, okay, this guy's just way better than everyone he's playing at Houston. Is he going to be somebody that can actually be effective in the NFL? And the answer is yes. He's been a good player, even with shorter arms. Leonard Taylor just kind of says, I'm more athletic than you a lot of the time. So if you can develop him, you have a special player at 2022 or at 22 in 2024. And I would say that that's worth a chance at that spot. Pick 23 is the Texans' first pick. Would have been picking at number 2, but in order to trade up for Will Anderson Jr., they said, hey, we got to give you our first-round pick. We'll take Cleveland's from the Deshaun Watson trade. And here they are at 23. The Texans are a team that just need to take the best player available. They are just not great. Who's going to be the most impactful player you can draft? And that's a tough question because Joe Alt is kind of sticking out at this point, but I don't think you need to take a tackle. Quarterback, obviously not. Running back, no way. Receiver may be in play, right? Because you do have Nico Collins, who's fine. You brought in Robert Woods, who is fine, but not a long-term solution. John Mechie, I like, but probably just a slot guy. So do you take somebody that can win on the outside? And I think you might. Tank Dell in there as well, but again, I'm not convinced he's more than just a slot. Going Malik Neighbors can win deep down the field and on the outside. Feels like a good pick for Houston at 23. Just because he's available is the big thing there. Ravens at 24. Corner is so weak for them. Could go edge here as well. But corner, it's just like a revolving door right now. And Josh Newton is available. Did struggle against Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter is a freak. Could just be a bad day. Josh Newton's still a good player. Still be a first-round pick. Lions at 25. The Lions are in an interesting spot. They also probably could have considered corner, but when I watch the Lions, I go, okay, yeah, you have Jamison Williams. That's great. He's suspended. What beyond him? Amon-Ra St. Brown is a slot receiver. So what do you have on the outside? Well, we're waiting to find out. It's not a lot. Josh Reynolds, you can do better than that. And I think completing your receiving core for an offense that does like to throw the football with Jared Goff, this is going to be, I think, a slam dunk pick. It's Adonai Mitchell from Texas. I hyped him up in my way too early mock draft. He's made a pretty nice impact at Texas already. A couple of touchdowns in that Alabama game, or at least one, I think 2. Transfer from Georgia. He's a big-bodied receiver that can not only go up and get it 50-50 ball on the outside, he can win deep down the field as well. So when you have your slot receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have your field-stretching monster deep threat in Jamison Williams, and now you add in the 50-50 ball winner that can be maybe a prototypical X-style receiver on the outside. Adonai Mitchell seems like a slam dunk home run pick at 25, and you know, you kind of think, okay, we saw Quentin Johnston go around the same area last year. Adonai Mitchell could be, you know, a similar type guy. Big 12 receiver with athleticism, with size, but not like the most nuanced route runner at this point. Throw him in there. I think it's a great selection for Detroit as they complete their receiving core. That's what we're going for with that pick. Dolphins at 26. This is another interesting one. Joe Alt continues to just stare at me, and I'm just not going to overthink it. Joe Alt, future starter for them, and probably sooner rather than later. Really, really big-bodied offensive tackle. Good pass protector. Evolving in the run game as well. And for the Dolphins, what do you like to do? You like to throw the football. Well, Joe Alt can help you do that. And the Bengals, for being as good as they are, have a lot of holes, probably punching air that Joe Alt goes one pick ahead of them. Pretty devastating if you're a Bengals fan there. But you do have some good options. Kingsley Suamataia, Patrick Paul, Tyler Guyton, 3 guys that could end up being first-round picks. And it's just Orlando Brown Jr. I don't believe in. And then Jonah Williams I don't believe in because we've seen it. Jackson Carman, honestly, might be the best of the 3, even though he's not even playing. So, I don't know. It's kind of a weird spot. Cooper Beebe could, I think, even end up being a guard. Or maybe I'm just, like, addicted to thinking about Dalton Reisner moving from tackle to guard and playing all over at Kansas State. I'm not addicted to thinking about it, but maybe it's just entered my brain. We're going to go with the tackle here. I'm going to go Kingsley Suamata-Ia from BYU. He's a tremendous athlete, and I think exceptional value there at 27. Cowboys at 28. I think for a team that's as good as the Cowboys are, you're trying to find holes. Their defense is athletic, very, very fast, very strong. Let's look at wide receiver. Well, Michael Gallup, long-term question mark. You have CeeDee Lamb, who's awesome. You bring in Brandon Cooks. So do you need to go with the receiver still? Well, you could, because Michael Gallup, maybe not a long-term solution, as I may have mentioned. You could just get another edge rusher in the rotation. They've got, obviously, some really good ones, but you could go with another for sure. And their defense really struggled against the run last year. That's why they went out and drafted a Michigan defensive interior lineman, or interior defensive lineman in 2023. And it'd be tempting to team up Chris Jenkins and Mozzie Smith again. I might have to. Sorry, that stopped scrolling down after Malik Neighbors, I believe, in there. So sorry about that. But we're back. And you know what? Linebacker could be an option as well. I think I am going to end up going tackle, though. Tyron Smith, unfortunately, has not been somebody you've been able to keep on the field as much as you would like. And Terrence Steele at right tackle. I'm going to go with Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma and continue to try to upgrade that offensive line. And this is where the Cowboys live. They love drafting offensive linemen high. It works for them. They've done a really, really good job with not only drafting, but development. A guy like Tyler Smith, I thought was going to be a project coming out of Tulsa, and he was just great right away. So, could do it again with another Tyler from Oklahoma. Tyler Smith, Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right. Bills at 29. What do the Bills do? So many good edge rushers still available. I think getting weapons for Josh Allen is super important. I think protecting Josh Allen is super important. Like, you have some options here, right? Could even go edge. Edge is right up there with their list of needs because, you know, Von Miller is aging. Rousseau's been a decent player for them so far, but I don't know that you can count on Von Miller long term. But with linebacker being a need for them after losing Tremaine Edmonds, I'm going to give them Barrett Carter from Clemson, who I think will ultimately end up being a first-round selection. We do see a couple linebackers go in the first round every year, or usually one or two. So Barrett Carter is the pick for me. Could use an upgrade at the position. Matt Milano's great, but, you know, you haven't really truly addressed Tremaine Edmonds leaving. Not that Barrett Carter would fill the exact same role, but I think he'd be a starting linebacker for them right away. Eagles at 30. What do you even do here? The Eagles are so good. It's really tough to find holes because they're so incredibly talented. What would the Eagles even do? I think offensive line to me stands out. I don't know that it would be a tackle because, you know, you have Lane Johnson who's getting older but is still great. And then obviously your left tackle, Jordan Mailata, doesn't need to be upgraded at all right now. So you'd be looking more on the interior. And I know that Cam Jurgens was drafted to be a center. At the same time, Cedric Van Pran could start at center right away. And either way you're looking for an interior offensive lineman, I don't know that Cedric Van Pran cannot play guard. He's a pretty big dude. 6'4", 311 pounds. You might want to bulk him up a little bit more than that, but I don't think size is going to be necessarily a big issue. So taking a Georgia offensive lineman, I mean, Philadelphia seems to be the Georgia pipeline with what they've done in drafts recently. Cedric Van Pran is the pick for me. Or it could be Van Pran, even though that wouldn't be like the traditional pronunciation of that type of a name. This is another one. I've watched them. They don't say, there's no audio on all 22 when you're watching offensive line or anything. So typically not saying the center's name on broadcast either when you're watching live. So if it's Van Pran, please tell me, or even Van Pran or Von Pran, whatever. Please help me out. Would love to know. It's still early in the process. Even though he was a draft eligible player, I've already looked at him last year. So again, please help if you can. And then for the Niners, another interesting spot. I keep saying that. Edge rushers that I really like have fallen, and I got to get them off the board. I love Leatu Latu, but the medical stuff could push him out of the first round and down the board. That's just something that could happen. even though it didn't for Jalen Phillips. Well, maybe a little bit. 49ers offensive line is a mess, though, is the thing. Patrick Paul is available. I'm going to go Patrick Paul. Could be a first-round pick, one of the top tackles in the draft. And for the Niners, their offensive line is just a mess right now. Taking a quick glance at that. And we're going to end things with the Chiefs. And again, what do you do when this team is so talented? I just think they're lacking playmakers at receiver. And as I say that, right, like, it hasn't really been that big of an issue, except for in week 1 against Detroit. No Travis Kelce, no problem. What do you do? Kadarius Toney did not show up. Rashee Rice is a nice possession receiver who's a good run blocker, can win some jump balls, but is not going to be a separator like Xavier Worthy is going to be, right? Xavier Worthy. But you have other needs. Do you try and upgrade offensive line? Do you try to upgrade the other side of the line? I think I'm going to end it with Xavier Worthy. I've left a number of really good edge rushers on the board. Cam Kinchins, who got injured last week, really, really good safety prospect. We just see that position go down and get pushed out of the first round all the time. And even like Jatavion Sanders, who I love from Texas. So good. It's tough to get even really good tight ends to get drafted in the first round. We got Brock Bowers in the top 10, and then there's a fall off. Even though Jatavion Sanders is in the next tier below, he's really, really good. Drafting him to be your Travis Kelce long-term, that would be very fun. I've talked myself into it. I'm going Jatavion Sanders. And that is the mock draft. Too many players to get into the first round every single time, right? It's always very tough, but did the best we could. I think this is a pretty good mock draft for right now. I don't know that we're forcing quarterbacks in, but I think it's a really talented QB class, and we're going to see QBs go off the board. Even a number of talented ones didn't end up making the cut for me this time around. Riley Leonard, Michael Penix. We'll have to see what ends up happening there as this 2023 season progresses. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more draft content over this season, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.